I have no idea what I'm doing. It's been like 2 months since we recorded an episode of the podcast.
It's a very surreal feeling.
Does this button send us live, or does it send us to the moon? I don't know. Welcome to Australian Transformers Weekly. We are bringing you Transformers news, I think, from around the world and across Australia. This is episode 251. The last episode we recorded was the big 250. We are back in 2022. We're recording live on Friday, the 28th of January. This week we will be talking about, apparently, according to the run sheet, some new Tamara figures, but I think Brad may have meant Takara figures. There's some new legacy leaks. Actually, you know what? They're not. It's not a leak if it's on store shelves, so whatever. And apparently, Brad.
Yes, Jason.
Did you put statues into the run sheet again?
I may have found something to laugh at.
Right. Okay. We need to have a bit of a chat about this. Right, that's that dealt with. Without any further ado, hi, welcome to the show. I'm Jason. I'm your regular host. I'm coming to you live from Sydney tonight. Tonight we have a full house for the show's return. We have Daria coming to us from Canberra. How are you doing down there, Daria?
All right, not bad at all. How are you all doing?
Pretty good. It's it's good. It's good to be back in the seat, even if I'm not sure what all the buttons do. Max coming to us from Adelaide. How are you doing up there?
I'm alive, well, kicking, feeling a bit nostalgic. Been a little while since I've done one of these, so feeling rusty, but it's good.
I think the last time we did one, you were on it as well. So it's probably not that much of a nostalgia kick. And coming to us from an undisclosed location somewhere in country Victoria, we do of course have the wonderful Brad coming to us. How are you, mate?
Hello, guys. Yes, the cosmic rust would love to go away, but this humidity is just killing me at the moment. So,
speaking of cosmic rust, can we talk about your sunburn?
I was going to say, somewhere undisclosed where the sun is definitely shining.
The sun is definitely shining. So Victoria's had a lot of hot weather this week. New South Wales is closer to the equator than Victoria, but it's been fairly mild here in Sydney, I've got to say. At least I know Melbourne's had hot days. Your
microwave doesn't have a door.
Yeah, this is true. I'm not sure if you're aware, but Bumblebee looks like he might be about to decapitate you.
Yes, I do know. It's frightening. I've taken up a new job. I'm outdoors now a lot, and yes,
we can tell.
Soaking in the sun.
So do you know that there's a thing called sunscreen that you should wear if you're working outdoors?
I know of it.
I've heard of it, but Sunscreen and I are friends who've not met in a long time.
I don't know if they see the sun enough in rural Victoria to really justify that.
Oh, no, it's not Melbourne. We've seen enough of it.
No, so the reason I say it's sunburn is because there's a large contrast between your neck and your shoulders.
Yes, well.
Yeah, dude, your tan line is like an eclipse.
Yes, that's true. All right, enough commenting on people's appearance. My apologies, Brad. It is lovely to have you, of course. It's been a while since we've done a show. Max's lights are flickering. I don't know what's going on there.
That's that battery.
What was that?
Max, does your house have a poltergeist?
Possibly.
It might now. What's been happening? What do people do over Christmas? We're practically 2 months through summer now. I know what I've been up to over Christmas. I'll get to my shenanigans soon. But what's been okay? Max's light is now blowing out in the background.
That's me changing tabs to mute stuff, and it's just like ruining the
Right.
coming
Okay.
up on the
Yeah.
computer screen.
That makes sense now. That makes sense. Dario, what's been happening up over Christmas? Like, I choose you as possibly the most sensible person on the podcast. I'm expecting a nice formal, responsible response.
My Christmas personally was pretty quiet. A lot of us were still kind of exhausted after a new round of COVID shenanigans, so everyone was kind of low key. So
as far as COVID shenanigans go, I found myself in London at Christmas time.
You left the country.
Yes.
I got to leave the country. It's the first time
Is
I've
that
left the country
allowed?
in a couple of years. Don't tell anyone. But yeah. No, I found my way to London. I met up with the friends that I could meet up with in London. Like, I was being pretty cautious about COVID. I didn't want to go, but Dad wanted to go, so we went. And I didn't want to go because London had a frankly uncontrolled COVID outbreak in the weeks leading up to our departure. And while I was away, Australia went to hell in a handbasket as well. So there's uncontrolled COVID outbreaks everywhere, and now we all just need to be careful and take care of each other if we can.
Yeah, see above.
Yes. So how about...
Sorry, I was going
Go
to say, Jason, should I guess name of the friend you met up with on air? Or the nickname of the friend you met up with on air?
You can. Let's...
You were hanging off Llama God, ne?
No, actually I was not.
I got the impression you were.
I think Joe and Llama God actually managed to get their way to Singapore while I was away in London.
I got the impression from your chats, maybe it's because you're both talking about travelling. I thought, they've travelled to each other, but I'm wrong.
I'm pretty sure that they made their way to Singapore because I know Joe's been wanting to introduce Scraplet to her parents, but no, we didn't manage to meet up. Mainly because they're not in London, so it would be quite a lot of travel in a COVID world. I didn't really want to sit on the train for a long time, unfortunately, but would have loved to see Joe and Llama God. But, yeah.
Unfortunately for you, Jason, we do have some security footage of you arriving at Heathrow if you check Messenger and share that image.
Let me see if I can work out. Let me see if I can work out how to do this. This is a bit of a surprise. Give me a second. How do I maximize this? You know what? It doesn't matter. I'm just going to turn on the screen share. The screen share is here. There we go. This is me arriving at. You say it's at Heathrow, but there's an American flag. There's an American flag there. This is, of course, me actually arriving in my world famous Breaking Bad cosplay. It's big fan. But yeah, Bryan Cranston has actually signed the pocket there if you look very carefully. Yes. So yeah, I managed to make it to London and back. I managed to remain COVID free. Show of hands, who caught COVID over December and January? Anyone?
I still don't know a single person who's had COVID.
That's amazing.
That
is amazing right about now for you to have zero people in your social circles who've had COVID. While I was away, everyone that I know in Sydney ticked off and just started pinging COVID contacts and isolations and stuff. But yeah,
it's really bizarre.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
We have a comment from one of the listeners there. Rob Franklin says it's cold and wet here in Queensland. Have the Decepticons invented another weather machine? No, they haven't actually invented another weather machine. The simple explanation is that the maniac who's in control of Queensland's weather machine is asleep out the panel again.
I know they're causing havoc down here, so.
It's true. Brad had heavy rainfall that was possibly going to keep him off the podcast due to background noise, but it seems to have abated.
And not max locally, but regional South Australia's been getting hit pretty hard with some weather too. So
basically, half a state was cut off. You just couldn't get north at all because we don't really have many roads outside of the southeastern corner. So basically one road went away and no, you can't get anywhere now.
Manny Portelli, also Manny Portelli, new TCCA member. Thank you for signing up, sir.
Hello,
A
sir.
thunderstorm in Victoria today. Some definitely a lot of thunderstorms going through Victoria. And nameless Facebook user who has not been to streamyard.com/Facebook and given us permission to see who they are, says that they're trying to see what the figures are on the back walls behind everyone. Try as you might. I actually have several gaps in my display from Oz Comic Con in December. I basically went to Oz Comic Con, and there's a couple of boxes on the floor behind me that have all of the figures that were on display in there. And I must also mention Oz Comic Con. The stand was also manned quite ably by our good friend Mikey Siciliano and Michael Vella. Also gave us a hand with the hosting of the stand as well. So we are looking forward to the next Oz Comic Con to come along, and I'm not sure what's happening with Supernova, but we'll talk about that soon as well.
I think Supernova might be dead.
It's getting pushed back.
Dead.
It's true. Nameless Facebook user says that he is big angry Trev, can't remember his Facebook password. Trevor.
We've all been there, clever Trevor.
Yeah.
Yes. Dear. All right.
Spoiler alert.
Go on.
Spoiler alert for later. Jazz. That's one. That's a gimme.
Jazz 2X4B. Yeah.
Just to
I think
confuse matters, my recording setup is in front of my Doctor Who shelf rather than my Transformers shelf. So what you're seeing is the 13th Doctor there and a Dalek up there and various TARDISes and things.
This is probably why Trevor has trouble identifying the bots on the shelf behind you, because they're not Transformers.
That's my bed. This is where I live.
Yeah.
I sleep there.
Yeah, this is where I work. Fortunately for me, I managed to work in front of shelves full of Transformers. Look, we've been gasbagging and catching up for a little while. I think it's probably about time we spoke of Transformers. And I just realised I almost killed Messenger there, but I don't want to do that. It's time to bring in the news, which is very simply first up. Some international sightings before we get into local releases, because they do figure into it. Legacy is officially on the shelves if you're in France. If you're outside of France, then its appearance is a little bit more sporadic. It's currently limited to Generation Selects. Actually, it's technically been on the shelves since December. With the first release was Generation Selects Black Zarak. What a way to start! Start with a Titan class figure, eh? Generation Selects Black Zarak has actually been very, very well received. It's I'm told it's been selling like hotcakes from all the retailers in Southeast Asia. They've been restocking it hand over fist. Really, really good to see a limited release Titan proving so popular. Go on.
I think the thing with Black Zarak is that, for each Titan release that's come around, we've sort of expected there to be some sort of repaint, some sort of remold of that figure, and it's never happened. There's no G2 Devastator, there's no Omega Sentinel, there's no Beast Wars Triptychon, none of that, when everyone sort of expected that it would. So now Black Zarak rolls around, and it's like, oh wow, they're actually reusing this thing for once.
Well, it really does.
In a way which we really surprisingly haven't before.
Yeah, it really puts the possibility of getting some obscure repaints of Titans on the table. People have, so there was, I think there was a Brave Max repaint of Fort Max in Japan. There have been a few calls to re-release that. There's calls to re-release a few Titans because they get rare over time. Like Metroplex is currently really difficult to track down for less than an arm and at least half of a leg. There is said to be a new Metroplex, a Cybertron, Cybertron, Galaxy Force, whatever the Unicron trilogy Cybertron Metroplex was. He's meant to be this year's Titan. We're hearing, but it would be really nice to see a G1 Metroplex come back as well. I'm hearing I'm hearing that there's some rumblings that there might be a reissue, and some parties are calling for Metroplex to be reissued, but we'll see how that goes.
Especially since early on, even going all the way back to Metroplex, we heard stories of stores Target, Big W hating the Titans because they take up so much space. Where now we've got Hasbro online, Pulse, whatever online avenues for them to flog off various repaints, and collectors will get them. I'd love 2 or 3 different colours of Devastator. Your Brave Max, all those sort of figures. With online being so much more readily available shopping-wise and not having to dish them out to local retail, I don't know why they haven't just gone, right, let's just start recolouring, remold it.
Yeah, if you've got Metroplex, there's Metro Titan there for you right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Rob's commented and said, with the huge demand for Slammer, surprised that they're not re-releasing Metroplex. You know what? Maybe it's a bit of a hint that they're considering it, because Metroplex at this point is a 6 or 7 year old figure, and they've just released an accessory for him that's flying off the shelves. So maybe it is a good sign. We've been waiting for Black Zarak. We've been waiting for Black Zarak for 2 years. We got the Generation Selects repaint of Fast Track as Black Rarichi a couple of years ago during Earthrise, and people were like, well, where's Black Zarak then? He's got to be coming. Sure enough, here he is. So maybe the fact that Slammer is around in such numbers is a sign that Hasbro might be revisiting the Metroplex world.
Jason, I don't want you to feel old, but that was 9 years ago.
Yeah, so I took a guess.
2013.
So I took a guess because I knew that he was before Combiner Wars, and I know that we're at the end of the second trilogy since then. So that's actually almost my limit of knowledge, right? Like, I started paying attention to retail releases and stuff around the time of Combiner Wars, and before then I'm a bit foggy. So yeah.
Oh, don't worry, I googled it. It didn't come
Fair
from
enough.
here.
I mean, Max could have googled it. We didn't see his tabs flicker in his the light in his room. It's possible. Anyway,
But
back to
coming up.
Go on.
But yeah, coming up on 10 years shortly, it might be time to go back and re-release or do some sort of special line with the Titans.
Well, you'd hope that they update Metroplex in some capacity, because that original figure doesn't really hold up all that well. So it's for the better half of $1,000, but it's regularly going for at the moment. It's not something you want to be spending that much money on.
It is.
Celestials
You do make a good point. Like, Metroplex was pretty much the first Titan, and Titan scale engineering has gotten much better in the intervening 6-9 years. So there's definitely things that can be done there.
We're gonna revisit that later.
Because
I'd say I prefer to pay $100 for Metroplex than what I paid for. What is that?
You got the Titan.
Titan
Arc.
thing.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll talk about your thoughts about the Arc. So as I say, Gen Select's Titan Black Zarak was technically the first Legacy release. And so now we are seeing the first Legacy bots on shelves. They've got really, really bright packaging. It's really nice. There's this dark sort of purpley and bluey background color, but then there's just these really vibrant colors on the figures that are illustrated over the top of it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing these on shelves. It should be really good. Notably, of course, the unannounced figure that accompanies the generationified bulkhead in Wave 1 is, of course, Kingdom Blaster, coming up for a repack. And for no one can really see my screen, but for a slight spoiler, there's Blaster sitting on my desk down there. We'll be talking a little bit about him later on as well. Other notable international releases. We just today saw the release of the Core Exosuit Spike Witwicky. Say that 10 times fast. This one appears to have been just suddenly appeared in some nameless toy store in the UAE. We don't really know where it is. My suspicion is that it's in an airport somewhere. But yeah, the thing that jumps out at me looking at the core figures in Studio Series, and I don't know if this is going to be as controversial to the rest of the people on the show as it is to me, is that they don't have numbers. This is a
Okay.
Studio Series 86 release, but unless there's a number on the back or the side, like I haven't seen the sides of these boxes.
I was thinking, yeah.
If I had to spitball a reason, it would probably be because they're not really scale adherent. I mean, obviously this one and Ravage sort of are, but Shockwave clearly is not. So maybe, if they're planning on doing more releases like Shockwave, they want to keep it out of that regular scale where the Studio Series is at least intended to be one consistent scale.
That's a good point. I think I accidentally referenced them all as Studio Series 86, but no, the two core class figures that are out now. We didn't do the local releases yet. Is Ravage and Shockwave from the Bumblebee movie. So yes, they're definitely not in scale. So maybe they don't get numbers for that reason. But Spike kind of should have one. Anywho. Those are the overseas sightings. Very quickly, I'm just gonna take that out and take us back up here. And I'm going to run through the list of stuff that's been released since we did our last show. So we've talked about Gen Select's Black Zarak. There's one sitting in my living room. I haven't opened him yet. Gen Select's Lift Ticket, the red hoist repaint. Quite a lot of people excited for Lift Ticket. There's a lot of Studio Series 86 bots. So 86 Starscream, who is a leader class figure, but he is the Earthrise Voyager mold painted in movie colours with extra accessories like the Decepticon throne and a few extra weapons. Looking forward to that one. 86 Perceptor is out today in Asia. And 86 Hot Rod has been re-released in new packaging. Toy is pretty much exactly the same, but Hasbro has updated their packaging style for figures for 2022, and the Studio Series line now has smaller windows, and I'm not entirely sure if the Deluxes and Voyagers now have plastic windows or if they've been removed. We'll have a look when we get those figures in hand. Otherwise, also released today, there's Studio Series Bumblebee, Wheeljack, Brawn, and Ratchet. So they've just come out in Asia. They are actually, I believe they're available in Australia if you order them from Pop Culture. They had them in stock, and I know that because Pop Culture has their store in Geelong, you can actually go into the store and get them if you're in Victoria. There's also the Bumblebee Soundwave has come out in the last few weeks, and we did mention Core Ravage and Core Shockwave. Locally, you're able to get Gen Select's Black Zarak from eBay and Zing, and I think Robotoys also has him on offer as well. Lift Ticket has been released by eBay and Zing, possibly one of the earliest releases in the world of that figure. It just sort of suddenly popped up in the last few weeks. The golden disc sets that we made a lot of fuss about when they were announced last year, they are mostly, I think, on Amazon Australia for order now if you haven't already got them. And Tigertron and Blaster, the final Voyagers from Wave 5, they're at Amazon Australia. They sort of come in and go out of stock and come back, so you may have to keep a watch on it, or you might just be lucky when you look at Amazon. But they also turned up today at Comic Book Heroes in Brisbane. And we also got an early release for Studio Series Core, Ravage, and Shockwave in Casey's Toys and Toymate. Now, you can, of course, find a lot of these items at online retailers. We mentioned Robotoys. There's also Action Figures Industries, Defamation Toys, Big Kids Collectibles, and a bunch more. So, yeah. Trev also says EB Games is out of Black Zarak. Oh, there we go. But you can still get him through MyGeekBox. MyGeekBox is run by or associated with Zavi as well, so you might be able to find him there as well. Right.
And if anyone else has the trouble like the rest of us, or me, finding figures at local retail, going online seems to be the only option now, unless you have a Mr. Toys or Sir Toys nearby, which has all the good stuff.
I don't know if anyone has a Sir Toys nearby. Isn't that an online store in Hong Kong? Did you? I think you might have meant Uncle Pete's or Casey's Toys.
Probably not, but yeah, let's continue.
If Brad, if you do have a Sir Toys nearby, I'm coming to Victoria to visit you.
No, you just start there.
Fair enough. All right, we're gonna head back onto news. So I'm gonna put the news screen share up. I I might move us over to the side and talk about things like that. There, over the last week or two, we have seen the inimitable Prime versus Prime has gotten his hands on the Legacy G2 Laser Optimus Prime, and dutifully posted a video review of it. We present some stills of the video review for your delectation and enjoyment, and. So this guy's very heavily based on the Earthrise Optimus Prime mold, with it seems a bunch of additional bits added on, possibly some quite serious retools. But you can definitely see the influence of the Earthrise mold below the waist. Now, so being the G2 Laser Prime, he's maybe a little bit of a niche figure when it comes to sort of the G1 fans among us. How interested are you guys in an upgraded Earthrise Prime turning into a G2 Prime?
I do. I'm just really like this design. Like, generally quite like Laser Prime as a design. It's made for some really good figures in the past. This definitely just looks kind of.
Is this not
boring.
one of them?
No, it doesn't look bad. It just looks like, yep, that's an Optimus Prime figure. Right? Like, there's nothing here that jumps out at me as remotely interesting. It's just like, yep, that looks like a serviceable Optimus Prime.
Yeah, it's good if you like Laser Prime, but there's nothing new to the table. Possibly because he was one of the more advanced constructions for the time, even on his first incarnation.
Yeah, true. As we sort of revive characters from closer to the present day, you do sort of gain less by revitalizing and updating them.
And I've said before, and just to be gratuitous, said again, they are kind of getting stuck whenever it comes time to do Optimus Prime in these Generation 1 centric lines. That basically they've got to find a new way to do exactly the same thing again. So. This kind of stands out in that it's not another G1 Prime like you all saw in the cartoon. But it's not hugely different in terms of Laser Primes. I don't have a Laser Prime at the moment, so I may take a closer look when and if he hits retail and make a decision then.
So,
I agree 100% with those comments.
Rob's pointed out that he's more interested in possible repaints. So Nemesis Prime is a given. Scourge is probably a given as well from this, but we'll see what it ends up at. And possibly Trev says G2 Megatron needs an adversary, and the Scourge retool repaint will be moi. Chef's kiss. I think there's a lot of us who are looking forward to black repaints of this guy, maybe more than the actual Optimus. What do you think?
And we've seen that
you're not wrong.
Going all the way back to Combiner Wars, we had that shitty red Optimus, and he got repainted several times for Combiner Wars, and I think this is the same. This guy's leading the charge, and he'll get repainted a few times. I'm just, again, like you're saying, Dario, glad it's not just another G1 Optimus Prime. We've had 7 of them over the last 4 years. It's something different. It's not my cup of tea, but I'm sure there's plenty of G2 Prime lovers out there in G2 that would want to get this figure.
Yeah, I love the design of G2 Prime, but the only reason I'm considering this one is because I currently don't have another version of him. So he's great, but he's not so great that I'm going, got to replace or accompany the other one.
I just worry that since he's based on the Earthrise mold, I just worry that he's just not going to be very exciting when you get him in hand. He does at least have sort of a noticeably different alt mode because he's sort of got the needle nose to the truck. But I'm just not sure that it adds enough.
I was going to ask if it come with the tanker, and obviously
it does. Yes,
one click of the mouse shows that.
Yeah. So the tanker, the trailer, and the possibilities that you get with that might be the most interesting part of this. so the tanker does open up into a lot of things. I don't know if I can find that. There we go. So the tanker does open up into sort of a base mode, but sort of in the same way that Earthrise Prime's trailer was it was good, but just a little bit lacking. The tanker trailer opening up to a base mode it feels a little bit empty to me.
Yeah.
I think that's it again. We say, give us G1 Prime. Okay, here's G1 Prime. But it's just G1 Prime.
Yeah. All right. So look, there's a bit of a look at Legacy Laser Prime. Legacy is probably due for release here around mid-year, is what I'm hearing, and I think some of the first Wave 1 figures are probably going to come out internationally around April, or now if you're in France. But yeah, I think we should expect to see Wave 1 of Legacy hit around April internationally. So it's it makes sense that this figure's sort of leaked out as a stolen factory sample now. But there's I don't know, maybe it's not a complete smash home run for Laser Optimus Prime, but you never know. There might be plenty of people who are very happy to have them in their collection.
And that's going to be interesting too. You're saying April. We aren't going to talk about tonight news-wise. It's been made known that Rise of the Beasts Wave 1 figures are going to be out in April too as well, and then Wave 2 is coming out in August. So,
see, with Rise of the Beasts delayed so far, I really wonder if they'll really put Rise of the Beasts figures on the shelves. It's a year away.
Yeah. And only having 2 waves come out in that year, just to fill holes or whatever, where you got Legacy here that can fill those holes anyway. So it's going to be interesting.
So I do have a list of figures that are coming out this year that does indeed list Optimus Primal and RC under Rise of the Beasts for April. That's for a Jungle Alliance set, and there's some kind of a blaster thing that'll come out. Not the Autobot blaster, but I think a gun playset in April. But Deluxes and Voyagers were not meant to be due until June or October. So maybe there's I don't know. To be perfectly honest, I can see them just shoveling the whole Rise of the Beasts line into next year. They've done it, or they did it this year, or they did it last year, and the year before when G.I. Joe, the Snake Eyes movie, was delayed. So the G.I. Joe Classified series has a number, there's a numbering system to it, and there were 5 figures that just mysteriously didn't get released in 2020. And when the movie finally came out in 2021, suddenly those figures got released. So I wouldn't put it past Hasbro to just shelve that whole thing. We'll see how it goes.
Time will tell.
Time will tell. Time will indeed tell. Let's move on, and we've got some in-hand images of figures that have just been released overseas today. So we're looking at the Studio Series Bumblebee movie, Wheeljack, and Brawn. Now that's quite a mouthful. These figures are notable because they represent the characters as they appeared in the first 90 seconds of the Bumblebee movie on Cybertron.
4 years ago.
Yeah, 4 years ago. But at that time, they never actually bothered to design any alt modes for the figures. So Hasbro's toy designers have actually taken they've performed quite the feat, right? They've got a fairly screen accurate robot mode for these guys. So I believe I haven't watched the Bumblebee movie in about 2.5 years. So maybe this is how Brawn looked. I don't really know. But they've given him a realistic, at least it's an alt mode that works for his body type. So
love it.
They've done a really good job with that. And of course, Brawn continues to look like Man-at-Arms from He-Man. I mean, look at the size of that helmet, right? Yeah. Well, actually, like I say, look at the size of the helmet. Maybe it's more Ram Man, but yeah. This is me showing off my newly acquired Masters of the Universe knowledge. Don't mind me. I'm gonna drop a few power sword bombs, but we'll see how we go. Brawn does, of course, come with an appropriately large gun and does have all the requisite things that you would expect of him. Where there's ankle tilts, lots of articulation, and looks pretty awesome. Wheeljack is another character who's been quite anticipated since he was revealed a couple of months ago. It appears he's quite a heavy retool of one of the Bumblebees that's already in Studio Series, so will remain to be seen just how well received the figure is once people get it in hand. Also, alt mode that did not appear on screen, but still looking pretty good there.
So I don't mind them having alt modes that didn't appear on screen, or a lot of people are saying, oh, we're making figures out of, just the first 90 seconds of the film, or yada yada.
A lot of people, by a lot of people, you mean me?
Well, no, I've seen other people. I just can't. I just don't bother to remember any of those people's names.
Yeah, no.
So let's just say Jason.
I'm happy to say it because it's real. It's what's happening. I'm not. I mean, look. Hasbro spent a lot of money adding 90 seconds of CG animation to the front of that movie in 2017, right? They delayed the movie, they added this stuff on. You knew that they were going to make toys of all of the characters that they had in that first minute and a half of that movie. There's a reason they made all that CGI. So have at it. I don't go for it. The thing that surprises me is how long it's taken them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit surprising. But the thing that the way I see it is it's pretty well it's still, I guess all these characters bar a couple, have at least one voice line, and they were on screen for a few seconds each.
They're on screen for just long enough for people to just go, oh, it's a Wheeljack, I need that toy.
Yeah. Which is, in fairness, is probably more screen time than the majority of characters that we had toys of the Bay movies.
And also,
think about how many just random things got thrown out as schlock in those lines. It just either some random background character or a character which didn't exist in the first place.
I mean, don't forget that Studio Series is also not above the cheap repaint, right? We've had the KSI Sentry and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, I'm bear in mind also that usually molds get reused once or twice. So what's Brawn going to get reused as? Who knows?
Well, that's the thing. Here we are 4 years later. Yes, they were late to the party to make these figures because everyone that loves the Bumblebee movie is only loving that first 90 seconds and that's it.
There's a brief flash of Cybertron halfway through the movie that they also watch. I do enjoy the Bumblebee movie. I feel like Haley Steinfeld did a fantastic job in it, and she's now lighting up the screen in many genre projects. So good on her.
Mm-hmm. No, she's cool.
Okay.
Go on.
It's all right.
I've distracted Brad. Go on.
We'll leave the Hawkeye discussion for later. We finally got to the end now. Apart from a Ratchet repainting to Ironhide, I'm pretty sure we've covered all of the characters from that first 90 seconds.
Rob is suggesting that we'll get an Outback from the Brawn mold. If we don't do that, that will be Hasbro breaking with years of tradition. So yeah, I think we have to get a Bumblebee movie Outback of some kind, even though he didn't exist. He did. Maybe there's a blob of 5 pixels in the background of a frame somewhere that they will say was actually Outback.
Yeah. I am surprised they haven't started pumping out Seeker repaints.
So we've got two. So we have Starscream and Thrust. Not sure if there's another Seeker. I think
we had
Blitzwing.
Yeah, but that's a different mold. There is a Thundercracker slated for August of 2022. Could be a Tetrajet Thundercracker. I mean, that would be cool, right? It'd be nice. So you'd have Starscream, Thundercracker, Thrust. They still need to do Skywarp at that point in order to sort of give you the main three. But That would be cool. It would be nice if that Thundercracker is in fact the Bumblebee one. We'll see. There has been a Bay Thundercracker in Studio Series already. He was a Toys R Us exclusive. I think he was number 6. That's how long the Studio Series line's been going on. But yeah, so there's a Bay Thundercracker done already. So if there's a Thundercracker coming up, he's either an 86 Thundercracker, which I think he would be marked as 86 Thundercracker, but yeah, he could be a Bumblebee. We'll see. I think it would be nice if they only trot that mold out once a year for a repaint. Like, here's the 2022 Seeker. It's Thundercracker. Yay! Off we go.
I was going to say, if you can tear your mind away from the tradition that Outback equals Brawn, this guy actually wouldn't make a bad shape for Gears.
Yeah.
Quite right. Yeah.
Yeah, he's quite right. Let's just go to his alt mode. Yeah. I can see that.
You just get rid of the bucket head.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a head mold change.
Yeah, and having that big shoulder backpack thing, Gears has got even more of that than Brawn has, so that's easy.
Yeah, it's just a truck canopy on the back, so. Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Wheeljack and Brawn will be in hand in the next couple of weeks, so we'll have a bit of a look at him, have a little bit of a look at them then. There is also we have talked about Takara's trainbots, trainbot masterpieces that are coming, the MPG series. Now we looked at Shulky, who was announced last year, and now Daria, you're going to have to remind me how to pronounce Gatsui.
Oh, Getsui.
Getsui, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I like to mangle these pronunciations in Australian all the time. So
I speak English.
Yeah,
I forgot his name till a second ago. So.
Yeah, I don't speak English. I speak Australian. Is the problem? So Gatsui has been announced as the second release of the MPG line. Now we know that the first one is due for release mid 2022. This guy is apparently due for release in September 2022. Now, at the time, we did say that we thought that the train bots were going to be 6 months apart. It looks like they might be 3 months apart. So hopefully that means that you're right, and will only take until the end of 2023 to come out. So we'll see how we go. So. There's been a few releases of images and the like for him. We're looking at a scan from, I think it's from Figure King magazine here. It's very, very posable. Lots to do, and of course he still converts down to a train carriage essentially. So there's been a lot of excitement go around. There's a lot of people who are very, very excited for the release of these figures. There is a third party who's releasing their figures around the same time.
Of course there is.
Of course there is. It's Moon Studio, and there's been a bit of controversy caused because the Moon Studio people have apparently been taking pot shots at the designs of the Takara figures, saying, they've got backpacks and they've got all bits of kibble, and then they've released figures that have significant amounts of kibble and things like that. So, yeah. Get a bit of a look here at the accessories that will come with Gatsui. There's some train tracks, weapons. I'm not sure what the two lugs at the top are. Maybe they're part of the combination. But also, I think this might be the first time that we've actually seen what one of the limbs for Masterpiece Raiden will look like. It's very significant.
Tramfoot.
Yeah, tramfoot, exactly.
It looks solid.
Yeah,
it
does.
Like a solid brick of a limb.
We can also see these two pieces up the top here. They sit on top as the
yes.
the electrical poles, beams, whatever they are. Looks very cool. I have absolutely no attachment to this character whatsoever, but I'm in. I'm in for these. I'm getting them all. Yeah.
Weren't
really,
they $250
really
a piece?
It depends where you buy them from.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say, no, they're only like $95, and I was going to go, oh, wow, I might actually be interested in getting this then.
No, the prices range from about 150 up to 250 each. Depends where you buy them from. So yeah, I think 150 for a masterpiece bot's pretty reasonable. I mean, like I said, it depends where you buy them from, but 150 to 200, like that's kind of standard for a masterpiece figure these days. Skids and Reboost, they're outliers. They're quite cheap, but yeah. I don't know. I don't mind. He's got a really nice amount of detail. Like just looking at the detail at the front of the carriage as it forms the foot of the foot of Rhydon. Like there's some really impressive detail. There's some really impressive engineering going on there. Very happy with it.
What's the chances going to be a box set release after the initial release, like they've done with everything else?
It's really it's really interesting because if there is a box set, it's going to be super expensive. It'll be the most expensive masterpiece thing ever to have released. Like if you've got about $200 for a limb, a box set you're looking at $1,200. That's twice the price of MP44.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know.
It's a lot more Transformer than NP44 too. So
it is, but just in purely in terms of the amount of money that they'd be asking you to outlay, it's a lot of money.
Well, they could always mark it up a little bit too to say, hey, well, you didn't support us when you were getting initial figures, so we're going to make you pay for it now.
Maybe, yeah.
I'll do the sort of look. This one's slightly redecoed, so.
It has a sword, a bigger sword.
She's got a new hat. To be honest, I think Takara would do better to make sure that all of the limbs are available for purchase. During in the market. So maybe that's why MPG is a new line. If you don't buy MPG 1 and you get down to the sixth bot release at the end of 2023. If you can still pick up the other limbs, then you'll be in good stead for that. So I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes.
I would take just a guess, just based on some history, just because the various Japanese Transformers people do like to do their box sets.
Yeah, they do.
So and the Japanese market is a bit less gun shy than the Western market in the don't release that, it'll be expensive thing. So I'm not going to sit here and say it's definitely going to happen, but those factors make me think it is more likely than not, though I'm still not going to put wagers on it.
I will say the words Takara Tomy Mall exclusive.
Yeah. I'm just worried about 50,000 releases for the first figure. Second one, we'll do 50 as well 3 months later. Okay, they didn't sell too well. Let's do 30,000 of these. And all of a sudden, by the end, I haven't got my end of my combiner. Which is worse.
By the end, you missed out on one of your limbs, yeah. I don't know. This is the first time that Takara has done a release like this. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Like, I'm genuinely interested to see if at the end of this year, MPG-01 is still easy to get.
Yep.
There is, of course, the Diaclone Colors release idea as well. Maybe if there's a box set, maybe it'll be in Diaclone Colors. We'll see how we go.
Yep.
All right. Another bit of news. This one's been percolating around the community for a little while. IDW is losing the Transformers and the G.I. Joe licenses at the end of 2022. Hasbro's taking those licenses somewhere else. We don't quite know yet, but the other licenses like My Little Pony, etc., they will remain at IDW. So there is still 12 months of storytelling left in the IDW Transformers license. So it will be interesting to see how they go with bringing things to a satisfying conclusion. I have to be honest. I haven't read most of the comics of this generation. I've been picking up the Shattered Glass comics, and I've been reading the Wreckers series, Tread and Circuits. My understanding is that the Wreckers sort of sits in with the sort of the new continuity of Transformers, and so I understand that there are things that have happened in there that I'm not necessarily aware of because I've just picked up the Wreckers comic, but it's been a fun ride so far as well. Now, I'm not sure if anyone else in here other than Daria has much thought or opinion on the comics. Daria, how do you feel about this?
No, someone's going to say, carry on.
Yeah.
Go, Max.
Max.
Oh, sorry. I'll wait for Daria to go. But yeah, I've been reading through them as well.
Oh, have you been reading the new ones as well?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
I haven't really talked about it on the show, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. Are you up to date, Daria?
Give or take an issue, yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of, I don't know. What have you thought? Because I've been sort of in mind that it's not quite up to the same par as the previous continuity, but it's definitely been good stuff. At least so far. I mean, it's a shame to see it ending, but it does seem to be a nice, well thought out story.
Yeah. Now, at this point, I agree with you. Early on, it took a long time to get going, and many reasons have been hypothesized for this, and I could roll them out again, but I won't. And I know that combined with some of the art choices turned a lot of people away. I enjoyed the story once it really picked up and got going. I don't think it's on a par with what we're now nicknaming IDW1. I also think, and I've heard different sources, whether this was a Hasbro thing or an IDW thing or some combination of both. But I don't think the Hasbro-verse, the let's throw everyone into a shared universe and cross them over all over the place worked nearly as well as they were hoping it would. I feel like the shared Hasbro-verse was the beginning of the end for the original IDW V1 universe. It was
easily the weakest component.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do know a lot of people, myself included, were quite happily reading along. Then all of a sudden, apart from having this kind of wedged in, now we're into what used to be the bane of an Australian's existence when we used to buy our comics from the newsagent, and that newsagent didn't get the comic you wanted. All of a sudden now we're in this dead important thing. It happened in that comic you're not reading because you're not reading Micronauts, but it's essential for some reason that this Transformers thing happened in there, so go and buy Micronauts. And rather than what they were hoping, which is people going, I better go and buy Micronauts because it's got Transformers in it. A lot of people went, well, if I have to buy Micronauts and who knows what else to get up with my Transformers, I'm just going to quit and not bother with Transformers.
I feel like that hasn't happened with the V2 universe. Things have not crossed over in there.
It's been it's been sort of a nice change of pace, and that it has returned to form as just a fairly self-contained story.
Yeah.
And so because it's sort of been one core book with a couple of little side things, it has felt very reminiscent of earlier IDW 1.0, where it was just quite easy to follow along with. So it hasn't quite reached the same heights as IDW originally did, but the story itself has gone in some really interesting places.
Yeah, especially, as I said, once it gets going, once it knows what it's doing, that's how I feel too. And I think also it's less of an ask to ask a Transformers reader, hey, go read this Transformers miniseries. It is just to ask a Transformers reader, hey, go and read ROM or Action Man.
Yeah, that's very true. That was my main problem with the crossovers in the original universe as well. Like, honestly, now that I know that there's a finite endpoint coming for this, I'm probably more likely to jump on it and actually read it and sort of be present as they bring it to an end. Remembering, of course, like the original ending for the V1 universe was drawn out a lot longer than it should have been. In this case, like Unicron, the Unicron story slipped publishing points, and I think things didn't finish until sort of 3 or 4 months until after they were meant to. But in this case, it's a case of them losing the license at a particular time. So they damn well better get those issues out. Otherwise, can't really tell what's going to happen. It has also been pointed out that the loss of the license, it's not entirely clear what that's going to mean for the publishing of the collected editions in the omnibus form, as to whether or not IDW will continue to be allowed to do that.
I would have to imagine they probably will, as they do publish. They do have licenses from Marvel and other companies to publish some of their work. So I would assume there's probably some arrangement there.
So apparently their agreement with Marvel has also been sort of cut short recently as well. But I'm not entirely sure what's going on there, because I've never really been that interested in the Marvel stuff that they've been republishing.
Yeah,
but
I think it's something they probably do differently for each one. But I do know, because there was a big interview about it, years ago when Titan just out of the blue published the back end of the Marvel G1 run, long after Marvel had lost any Transformers rights, but they still went to Marvel in order to get permission to publish that content. So they still had to have a word of Hasbro, because, we want to put your brand all over our books and all that sort of thing. But at least in that case, the content rested with Marvel. But of course, that could be a deal that Hasbro said, okay, you can continue to have this stuff forever because it's under your...
I feel like that's a very 80s deal. And
yeah.
So that's sort of dealing with the ramifications of the 80s deal. Like, we know that Hasbro tends to take their stuff and do whatever they want with it these days, even after the fact that it's being produced. So them putting so they've put the G1 series on YouTube, and it's published by Hasbro now, instead of sort of being.
Yeah. So it is very case by case. So they're saying it's a possibility, but we have no idea.
Yeah, I think it is. We're going to need someone to actually ask the question of IDW and see what happens. We should talk about speculation as to where the license is going. The front runner in terms of speculation appears to be Skybound, the publishing. I'm going to say publisher that's run by Robert Kirkman, who's most famous for The Walking Dead, but also. Kirkman's name is on a number of other properties that have been quite big in recent years as well. Invincible has been very popular on Amazon Prime. That was a Skybound imprint as well. So it was published on the Skybound imprint. To add some fuel to that fire, it's been noted that there's been a couple of departures from IDW in recent times. So John Barber has apparently stepped out of IDW in the last couple of months or so. And a few years ago, Chris Ryle, who was very involved in the publishing of the Transformers comics in the early days, left and is at Skybound now. It does make me wonder if John Barber might turn up at Skybound as well and take the Transformers license with him to his new gig. We will see. We'll see in the next few months. I'm sure it will become public knowledge where the license will go, but I don't expect it to be last issue comes in December and then the first issue of the new one comes in January. I wouldn't be surprised to see it rest for a little while as it moves between publishers.
Well, if nothing else, I imagine the new one will want to sit on it for a while and work out what they want to do. And I don't think they dedicate a lot of energy, brackets, money, to that unless they absolutely for sure knew they definitely had it.
I think so. There's a lot of people are mourning the loss of particular writers and artists as the property moves to Skybound as well. Let's just assume that it's going to go to Skybound. I don't know. I feel like all of the creators are working as freelancers for IDW anyway. So I don't see why a new company wouldn't go to the same creatives, because they've become so well known and so well loved in the community. I don't see why they wouldn't go to the same people to create these comics. There's of course probably going to be some new blood somewhere in there as well, and like we saw this as IDW sort of moved to its V2 universe as well. But I think the old guard will still be around for quite some time.
Yeah, and IDW as a whole, I think finally broke us of the idea that Simon Furman is the only one who's allowed to write Transformers.
I'm sure Simon Furman's already knocked on Skybound's door.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him again. But it used to be, if it's not Simon Furman, GTFO before IDW.
Look, that's true. And even the early days of IDW, even sort of they sort of suffered from needing to defer to the Furmanisms. But I think since then we've had many creations from many talented writers, and of course when you think about IDW V1, of course there's sort of More Than Meets the Eye and Lost Light, James Roberts, but there's other people who are writing these books as well, who are very talented as well. I don't know if I would expect to see Roberts come back to Transformers. I feel like he may feel like he's done with that and moving on to something else. But how much of a coup would that be? New publisher sets up Transformers and they get a James Roberts ongoing.
I mean, that would rock. Yeah, I would.
I don't think anyone would complain. I just sort of would worry that James has probably told the story that he wanted to tell.
Yeah, I think that's probably right too.
Of the myriad of issues that there were with the original ending of IDW V1, I would say when those books ended, I think the general consensus was that despite the issues, there was a strong thematic conclusion to Lost Light. And I think Roberts sort of tied up his work and his characters in a nice little bow. And
yeah, you can spot the rushing, but you can tell that it's most of what he wanted to tell is structurally there, I'd say.
In all honesty, I think it's quite telling that in talking about IDW losing the license, we're talking about mostly about the universe that they rebooted, rather than the current stories. I think we've spent maybe 70% of the time talking about the old IDW stuff and not the new stuff. Maybe there's a reason the license is going. We'll see.
Yeah, I think they just didn't win people back.
Yeah,
and I think the thing is the real significance of a license going is that original universe. In that, what we see now with this license going is the loss of. Granted, it did reboot itself, but the original IDW universe is the longest running Transformers story.
It's true, yeah.
I think it was
stretched over, I think, nearly 10 years or so, didn't it? Possibly more than that.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I forget how long exactly it went for, but it was a bloody long period of time.
13 years.
13 years, yeah. So, there is a sort of sadness to that, I guess, of... this is... It's an era that fundamentally reshaped a lot of things about the franchise, so it is a bit of a shame to see it come to an end.
It's true. So IDW's era has really been characterized by a lot of expansion in the fandom as well. Like the fandom's gotten bigger, it's gotten more inclusive. There's I love the fact that when I walk around at TF Nation, there's just as many men and women out there as Transformers fans. I think it's fantastic. Like IDW's been a great equalizer in that segment of the fandom. But again, like it's still something that we've been talking about mostly in terms of the V1 universe. I've just gotten a lot of feedback in my microphone.
I think that's the rain at Brad's place.
Is it raining at your place, Brad?
There we go.
It is. Fair enough. So, Brad, I think Brad did. Brad either dropped out during the comic discussion or intentionally removed himself, and I did put him back in. So that's kind of on me.
No, I was trying to comment with viewers commenting and log in, and it took me out of the show. So
fair enough. Fair
anyway,
enough.
it's dying off. It was a lot heavier. It got really bad here for a moment. I thought I was going to lose it, but I'm back. I'm still here.
Excellent,
still here.
Excellent.
Something I think the Transformers comic brand could try, and I'm no marketing genius, so I don't know if it would succeed, is that the format of Transformers as a whole, not necessarily any one particular incarnation, lends itself to the kind of split-up anthology comic like 2000 AD or Eagle or something like that.
Sort of like a stories of the Transformers rather than an ongoing plot narrative. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, or even or at least not always the one same ongoing plot in every story. So you could have 10 pages of a G1 story, 10 pages of an Armada story, 10 pages back on Cybertron.
Well, so as over the course of the last 12 months, I've picked up and watched all of Clone Wars, right? Like, it would be cool to have a story that goes on for a few issues and then shifts to something else after a few issues and tells a different story for a few issues, things like that. And yes, that's kind of what they do at the moment, but they're all sort of still tied into their own narrative, and the actual thematic linking of stories over multiple issues is just kind of an afterthought. But sort of an anthology like that would be interesting. It's in a way, it's almost sort of like the idea of the Spotlight stories that used to be not the Spotlight, the Mosaic stories, the one pages that used to inhabit the back page of the books that were fan created and community created. It's almost like that. It would be nice to see sort of some less contextualized stories that just happen to exist within particular continuities and without necessarily having to place themselves or explain themselves or fit into a wider narrative. Just something that requires a little bit less brain power to process, maybe.
Yeah. Have you all read the likes of 2000 AD or the Eagle or ones like that?
No, I'm not a 2000 AD reader.
Yeah. Well, just to illustrate for yourself or any listeners who don't get the format I'm talking about, just before I stop running this into the ground, you buy an issue of 2000 AD, and the first chunk of story will be like a Judge Dredd story, and it might be part one.
I see. You meant within the same unit, within the same issue, sort of telling multiple stories. Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, but it could still jump around, like you say, especially because then you could have 3 more, say, grounded, if you will, and then something a bit more experimental, story number 4.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it is an interesting idea for telling the story that way as well. I mean, the UK Transformers comic used to have, they used to split up the monthly US stories over, I think, 3 issues, and then they also had a backup strip as well, whichever whichever it was at the time. So that was, I mean, the UK Marvel and 2000 AD coming from the same country. So telling multiple stories, and I think the idea was also that it was kind of a value for money thing. You buy one comic, you get 2 things in it.
And that used to be just what British comics did.
Yeah, interesting. Look, there's the sky's the limit in terms of possibilities. We'll see. It might not even be Skybound who picks up the license. There were rumors. So this story first surfaced in December, and it's been confirmed in the last I'm going to say week or so. But when the story was originally floated around in December, there was actually word that it would go to Dark Horse. So I think the fact that everyone's sort of latched onto Skybound now does not necessarily make it a given. The license could well end up at, it could end up anywhere. It could go back to Marvel. Who knows?
It could do worse than Dark Horse, that's for sure. Definitely,
yeah. All right, I think we've spent long enough talking about IDW. I think Brad may have fallen asleep. We're running quite over time, so we're gonna push through a couple of stories.
Bloody hell did that happen?
It's a mystery to me. It's what happens when we don't do a podcast for a couple of months.
Yeah,
suddenly Yeah, we get to the end of the time.
We still tell ourselves we have a weekly 1 hour show, and this is just a fiction.
Yes,
This is to make up for the shows that we miss.
yes, this is true. We like to cover all of the time that we missed. This was an interesting story that Brad brought up when we were preparing stories for the run sheet tonight. The Melbourne Toy Hobby Licensing Fair, the Australian Toy Fair, is cancelled this year again, owing to COVID and other circumstances. Was a major show point for Hasbro in these in the Australian landscape. There would often be a Transformers meetup occur nearby, and that hasn't happened for the last couple of years. Mostly because people don't really like to catch COVID just to look at Transformers, which I think seems fair enough. But yeah, so the Melbourne Toy Fair or the Australian Toy Fair is off. And related to that, there's also news that the New York Toy Fair and Nuremberg Toy Fair have also been cancelled. Nuremberg Toy Fair, you will remember several years ago. I'm going to say 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago. We had the guy standing in front of the Devastator statue, and he stood there for a really long time, and we didn't get any updates for a week on that what that figure looked like. So the New York Toy Fair and Nuremberg Toy Fair are not happening. London Toy Fair is happening, but Hasbro will not be at the London Toy Fair as well. It's quite interesting. It is quite interesting because this sort of parallels a little bit what's happening with tech as well. Like there are large trade shows that are happening, but everyone's pulling out of them, and lots of companies do their own online launches as well. Like we've seen Hasbro do this in the last year. They do their Transformers Tuesdays and Fan First Fridays and things like that, and they'll have their product designers and the like come out and speak to people about what they're designing and what's launching and what's going to happen for their brand. I kind of feel like, having set that as an expectation of how they relate to their audience, I feel like they're going to keep doing it ongoing. The toy fairs are they're not just sort of like a showing off of the toys that are coming for consumers. They are a business thing as well. So by not attending Toy Fair and the show not being on, there's definite connections between businesses to business and those in the toy community that are missing and haven't been occurring. No one has any thoughts on toy fairs?
Well, not really on ones that don't happen.
Yeah. 2015 was the guy in front of Devastator. Yeah, right.
I was just trying to find what episode of Off the Shelf that was, but that's not going to happen. It's a shame. Like we'd normally have the first reveals of what we're going to get Wave 1 come April at Toy Fair and get up close and personal with it, and that's not going to happen again. We need to learn with COVID, and we're not learning to live with COVID and all that stuff. But anyway.
But also the past couple of years, even a bit before COVID, we were starting to move from toy fairs where we have the big announcements to the stuff like the Fan Fridays or the Transformers Tuesdays or the Wares Wednesdays or whatever, which when they let out bit by bit or even occasionally bigger announcements. So I think just the structure of how they do that is changing. So I don't know if brand toy fairs have disappeared forever. I mean, it's hard to say from this end, but I think in terms of the fan reveals, a lot of that is just simply shifting. I mean, I'm thinking of Comic Con. It used to be a thing that me and my other friends would basically all sit down the days after Comic Con and go through all the new trailers and announcements and stuff. But that just doesn't happen anymore. People have got the capacity to just release stuff on their own.
Yeah, I don't think companies like to share the limelight anymore. If you can run your own launch event for products, then why share the time with others at a different venue? I just wanted to bring up a comment. I'm not sure who's left. I don't think this is Trev. It says, I think Hasbro has been pretty lackluster with their advertisements and fan engagement lately. You would think that after 30 years of trying to sell toys, that media would be their strong point. Seems like their focus is on shows and movies only. I think that's that is quite interesting. Hasbro does seem to have trouble engaging with their fan base in a positive way. When you look at the Fan First Fridays, there's often just people shouting at them and telling them what they don't want them to do, rather than saying, "Hey, I'm really happy that you've done this." Follow up to that also says, I think the announcements are working that well. Seems like toy reviewers on YouTube and even some stores in Asia get toys out before they're even officially announced sometimes. And that's true. That's happened a bit over the last couple of years. I think like Deep Cover turned up early last year at one of the toy stores in LA. I do think that, and I know our friend Dr. Lockdown has thoughts on the release time frame and when Hasbro should be announcing things that are releasing. I would just really like to see a bit more consistent announcement from Hasbro and saying, "Hey, this is actually going to be out here," and just telling people when they can expect to find things. But we'll see how things go with that. Anyway, Toy Fair's over. Possibly, who knows? They may not be back in 2023. We'll see what happens.
Yes, yet we can have an online tennis experience and not have 2,000 people at the tennis.
Yes. All right. Now, speaking of that, there's a couple more news stories.
Skip.
Goodness me! How did the statues get into the run sheet? Goodness me! Does anyone have $5,000 in their bank account that they don't want to use? Because that's what happened.
I don't have $5,000 in my bank account. I have $5 in my bank account.
So it's fair to say that the statues are probably not that interesting to anyone. I'm gonna get someone offside by saying that at some point, because someone's just gonna be like, "I like the statues," but it won't be Brad.
There have been some nice statues. I'm not going to say there's never been a good statue, but to me, that one was not one of them.
No, that's true. I don't even know what that was. Is this one of them? The 30 MDLX Bumblebee?
Go to the size comparison. This thing is tiny.
So he's an articulated figure, but he's basically a statue, right?
Transformers fans and their definitions of statues.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to find. There we go.
So he's got joints.
Is that the size comparison you wanted?
Yeah. Oh, it's the masterpiece.
Look, he doesn't look. He doesn't look a thing like how I want Bumblebee to look, but sure.
I think someone's trying to marry the movie and the traditional.
Yeah. For a bit of generations in there as well.
And of course, these figures are how much?
It doesn't say.
I don't know, about $60. $60 US.
60 US, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for an articulated masterpiece style figure, look, I'm sure he can pull off some pretty impressive. He really is tiny, isn't he? I'm sure he can pull off some impressive poses. Look at that, though. That looks amazing.
That is a good picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Toy photography is up.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, right? That's a great picture. I'm just not sure if it's a great toy.
Well, my screensaver is cool toy photography, so I'm going to go and find that one later.
Yeah. I would pass you the link, but it will be in the show notes. I'll just do that. All right. So you know what? We're done. We're done with news. News is over for tonight. We did have some acquisitions that we should talk about, and as we're talking about acquisitions, it has been a while, and we didn't really get to do a summary of 2021. So as we sort of go through and talk about acquisitions, if you do have a particular highlight of 2021 of your last year of collecting, then please do feel free to mention it. You don't necessarily have to have the figure there, but if you've got it there to hold up as well, then that would be great. Daria, I'm going to start with you simply because your name is first in the run sheet. Do you have any new figures that you would like to highlight and show us?
Well, I got a glut that all came at once, what with pre-orders and slow shipping and what have you. So I'm going to ration them out, but tonight we're going to party like it's 1987 with the time of every last
Hello there.
Scorponok.
Hello. Yeah,
There's
big
a
fella.
big
I see
boy.
he's holding fast track as his.
Yeah, he's got fast track
spear
there.
as
One
well,
of the things is, if I get the big guys, I like to get their little guys as well.
Yeah, nice, very nice.
And I have wanted to get this guy for ages, and has been subject to shipping breakdowns, out of stockness, price jumps, all sorts of things. I finally got him from a local eBay person of all places, after all that scouring overseas, for less than 300, 250. So
Good job.
Nice.
Well done. Yeah, nice.
and he wasn't new in box. He was still very good in box. He's got all his parts. He's got no damage, and yeah, in person he is everything I'd hoped for. So I don't know if that was a holy grail, but it was definitely a really want to get. So yeah, I'm good with that. And later he will be slugging it out with my Fort Maximus.
Excellent.
He's everything you dreamed.
I was going to complete
man of my
the
dreams
lyrics.
right here.
I was going to try and complete the lyrics as well, Brad, but then I realised I didn't know them.
So yeah, as soon as you said it, I thought.
Hear that, boys? If you've not got a detachable head and huge scorpion claws, you just can't compete.
It's fair enough too. Yeah. Brad.
Oh, hello.
Brad, you said in the lead up to this that you had 2 figures that you'd purchased in all of 2021. Which of them is your highlight?
Well, I've been on the show obviously in 2021, so the figures I've talked about. Titan Arc. There's some issues I have with it. A lot higher price point than the original Metroplex. The same lanky figure, having his jet exhaust on the front of his legs. We could have spun the legs and had something else or something like that. My bigger question, though, is the Studio Series 86 Jazz. Now, I was going to do a profanity warning here for young people watching.
It's okay. It's 10:25 p.m. at night. There's probably not any young people watching, but they might be listening to the podcast. Yeah.
I'll do it cleanly. What the hell is up with the license for Jazz? Masterpiece Takara, pull your finger out of your ass. This is a fantastic figure. Why have we not got a Masterpiece Jazz? Really? I'm so frustrated. This is my Masterpiece Jazz because I don't have one up there.
Hang on, are you angry about Studio Series 86 Jazz because he's so good?
No, I'm angry at Takara and Hasbro because they haven't made a Masterpiece version of it. I love this. This is fantastic. I've seen Cyclonus. I've seen Cyclonus. A lot of them on the Kmart shelves and that. I haven't seen a lot of other figures. Yes, I did see some more Sparkler Seekers and that, but didn't want to have to go through the issue of posting. But
only to have them all turn up in one Kmart store in Melbourne now as well.
Yeah.
There's like 20 of them.
There's been a couple of the Beast Wars figures. Rhinox now just started turning up as well. I'm only after figures now to fulfill a spot. If I don't have a better figure, I've got better Rhinox generations, Thrilling 30, all that sort of stuff is better figures. But Jazz is a fantastic little figure. I want a Masterpiece version. I tried to get Downbeat, I think it was, back in the day, but that was a PC issue. It's time, Takara, Hasbro. Give us a Jazz.
So, like, if Takara and Hasbro don't want to do it for whatever reason, look, Studio Series 86 Jazz is not an officially licensed vehicle mode. So, like, he looks very Porsche-like, but he's not a Porsche. No, so usually on the Studio Series boxes they do have the licensed vehicle identifier. It's not on his box.
Yeah.
So he's not a Porsche, but like he's a Porsche-like. Fans Toys has announced that they're doing a Jazz. So, like, you know, if you can't get yourself a Make Toys, that might be your Jazz.
Yeah, Fans Toys. I've got several Fans Toys figures, as Benny would know, and I do praise them. So it might be the way to go. And there's plenty of commenting now. There are some other alternatives as well. So
I think so. All of the comments that I'm seeing on the live stream, people saying yes, get the Fans Toys Jive, get the Fans Toys one. So
yeah.
Morgan Moroney says, join the club, mate. Everyone's been looking for an MP Jazz, but these days Takara will probably drop it for $300. I don't know. Skids was a nice change coming in at $100. So yeah.
I can imagine a fair few yen or dollars going into trying to get Porsche to play nice.
Yeah. Possibly.
Plus, you got to look at what possible repaints they can get out of it as well. There may be one or two Diaclone that come from it, but I don't think it's as...
Ricochet.
Yeah, Ricochet would be one. Yep.
It's true. As far as figures, like people's favorite figures of the last year, I'll return us to this layout when we're not talking specifically to people. So Rob says Kingdom Cyclonus set such a high bar. The standard, he really did. I'm pretty sure at the start of last year when Kingdom Cyclonus came out, people immediately praised it as the figure of the year. They may have done this on the podcast. They're not wrong. Like Kingdom Cyclonus was a fantastic figure as well. And did set the bar for it as well. But also Rob points out the Nemesis Primal was the dark horse or the dark ape, as the case may be, of 2021. He was a sublime repaint. It was unexpected how much I loved Nemesis Primal coming in the buzzworthy Bumblebee Worlds Collide set as well. Max, we haven't heard from yourself on recent acquisitions and things that you enjoyed in 2021.
Recent. So should we go things that we enjoyed or recent acquisitions?
You can tackle it in whichever order you like.
Let's go recent acquisitions, and I'll try and get through these fairly quickly as we're a bit over time. So first off is Siege Hotlink, he had a sort of random reappearance in a bunch of Kmart's partway through the year.
He did,
and
yes.
So I saw an opportunity and took it, and was very pleasantly surprised by this thing. It's one of the nicest paint schemes I think I've seen on a retail Transformer. Just this beautiful black and purple fade across the whole thing. Transformation, I was not expecting to be quite as brilliant as it was. There's one I'm sure everyone's messed with this mold by now, so I'm not spoiling much, but just treating the shoulder pylons, flipping around to form the nose cone, just this stroke of brilliance.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. It's very satisfying when that clicks together.
Like when you first realize what it's doing, it's just like, oh, okay. It's just a little clever movement of mass that really stands out to you.
Yeah.
The main thing that really got me to this figure was just the overall build quality, like in terms of posability and the way that the joints feel. Obviously he's a nicely posable figure, everything you'd expect, and then some, a couple of extra little accoutrements added on. But just the feel of each joint is this tight and smooth, solidity to it. It feels like a imported figure, like a Figma or a Figure Arts or something, right? But it's just a regular retail Transformer. It's really, really fantastic. It's got this, nice premium feeling to it. So I was quite suitably impressed.
I feel like Max is in love.
A little bit. He sat on my desk for quite a while in between significant hiatus of shows. And the other recent Transformer acquisition that have opened, I've got some unopened stuff for whenever we next reconvene, is Cloud Roadbuster.
Oh, wow.
This is my first Cloud figure. I was in Melbourne over the New Year and obviously had to make the pilgrimage to Pleasant Surprises, and was pleasantly surprised to find this guy on the shelf for a very reasonable price.
Good segue.
He had quite a nice selection of Cloud figures, and this one was just the cheapest, so that's what I went with. But it's also just a really nice mold, and while it is ostensibly yes, painted after Energon Ironhide, which is not a very beloved aspect of the franchise. It just looks good, so I kind of don't care. It's
So
just
it's the Generations Roadbuster mold, right? The Thrilling 30
the
Roadbuster,
Thrilling
is that
30
right?
Voyager,
Yeah,
which
nice.
is one of the nicest molds ever, in my opinion.
Very
It's got a
nice.
couple of little tiny flaws here and there, but all up, it's this really nicely posable, super simple transformation and just filled to the brim of accessories. And in this just sort of, very typical heroic, red, blue, and white color scheme, it just looks gorgeous.
Yeah, I was going to say that the color scheme of this Roadbuster annoys the shit out of me, because every time I see it on eBay, and I have a Transformers Cloud saved search on eBay, right? Because I just look for Cloud figures here and there, and every time I see it, I think it's Optimus Prime, and then I look at the price, I'm like, holy shit, it's an Optimus Prime for $50. Oh
no.
wait, it's Roadbuster.
Yeah, it's the fact that it's homaging Energon Ironhide is probably a good reason why it's so cheap. And this one was about half the price of all the other Cloud figures in store, if I remember correctly. But I don't really care because it's been selling since I've watched Energon. That I don't really remember what Energon Ironhide was like. So as far as I'm concerned, this is just a really nice looking Roadbuster, and he does a very good job of being that.
Go for it.
Very nice, very nice.
As far as things that stood out to me above the rest this year, it would have to be not an official release, but the Iron Factory City Commander Final Battle Edition. Talked glowingly about this a few months back.
Are you sure it's this? Because, given how you were describing it earlier, I thought you were going to say Hot Link.
No, Hot Link's good, but this is, this is a work of art. Really, this is honest to God, this is one of the best Transformers ever released, in my opinion. They just nailed it in every single capacity. It's beautifully engineered, beautifully sculpted, rock solid, just packed to the brim with little features and details. It's a thing which is just, you sort of owe it to yourself to get this figure if you're just a fan of transforming robots as an art form.
Yeah, fair enough too.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Excellent.
Jason.
Right. I'm going to go through a couple of acquisitions. Hang on, what I'm going to do? I'm going to change the layout to me. I'm going to go through a couple of acquisitions, just things that I've enjoyed in the last couple of months, which is some of the golden disc sets. So this is Puffer. He's been blown out by the color on my screen. Really enjoyed getting to grips with the golden disc figure. So there's Puffer there. Road Ranger is here he is. Road Ranger is hanging about as well. He's taking a dive. Road Ranger also very fond of. Just the color schemes on these two are just really, really nice. Road Ranger gets his shield off the back as well because he's the half mold. As far as the golden disc sets go, anyone who's listened to the podcast much knows that I'm not much of a Beast fan, but I did absolutely adore the Battle Across Time Skywarp last year as well, and so no surprise there that I'm also quite fond of Pterosaur. Pterosaur's built out of the same mold, really nice, and yeah, just very, very much enjoyed, but not as much as Skywarp, I think. I feel like his red plastic is just betrays him a little bit. Perhaps not quite the quality of the Skywarp figure. One other one I'll bring up here. Make sure I get the right one. People love the Bumblebee Optimus Prime and have been unable to get him reliably for the last couple of years. So Takara very kindly released him in a premium finish deco.
I thought this one looked different.
Nice.
He does look a little bit different, and just in case you want to know what's different about them, I've got the original one to put side by side there. I'll fix his feet up there. So the premium finish, just his colours are just a little bit more vibrant. He's got this He's got this much better sort of metallic deco around his legs, and just there's a lot more painted detail on him as well. But the main reason to get the premium finish Bumblebee Prime is, it's about $60 or $70. Like, you don't have to pay the huge aftermarket prices that Studio Series 38 Prime commands anymore. You can get this with ostensibly a better paint job, and you can enjoy that figure. I'm just looking around on my desk to see if there's anything else. Oh yeah, sorry. There is one more figure that I do want to highlight of recent releases, which is Kingdom Blaster. Fantastic. Not a remold of Soundwave. Very surprising that they didn't just go the lazy retool and remold for Blaster. Like, he is a new figure. The cassettes, they do ship one cassette with him. I've got Eject inside Blaster's chest at the moment, so I'll have to take him out. Eject is interesting in that he is translucent blue. Still not entirely sure what's going on with that. It seems like it's going to tie into the Energon weapons gimmick in Legacy. We did see the picture earlier showing that Blaster has been re-released in Legacy Wave 1. So yeah, you can expect to see that. I have one other acquisition that I'm sure I spoke about this guy either on things that I speak about on the podcast versus the weekly chat room that we run in TCCA on Wednesday nights. They all blur into one another for me. So I do have another acquisition that I will bring up and show off, which is particularly big and important for me. And I don't think it. I'm pretty sure I didn't talk about it on the podcast before, but I will just warn you guys and anyone who's watching this on YouTube, you probably are going to want to put on some sunglasses. There we go. It is a big, bright orange, chrome, shiny boy. I did manage to get myself an eHobby Fire Guts God Jinrai, and he's every bit as bright and orange and red as you would have seen in all of the photos that you've seen for years. And so I graced the group with some photos of him this week as well. So my other acquisition is a light box. So you can probably expect to see some more photos of this type from me in the over the coming weeks. So
golden boy.
Oh yeah, but I mean, look at that brick, right? That is just a massive brick of plastic. The only thing that he does is his arms go backwards and forwards, and like there is nothing else. There's no other point of articulation. I mean, like the legs swing up, but they don't do anything useful. No other points of articulation on that, and I wouldn't have it any other way. He's utterly gorgeous and perfect as it is.
When you look like that, you don't need articulation.
Yes, it's true. This is as people said in the Facebook group when I posted this. Look, actually, it was a different photo. You may not like it, but this is what peak Cybertronian performance looks like.
Yeah. Wow.
Managed to.
That's the guy she tells you not to worry about in the meme.
Yes, that's right. Enjoyed putting this into the light box and taking a few photos and getting them up for comparison. Very fortunately, I picked this guy up for about $400. Like it's as far as prices that you see this go for on eBay, it usually goes for almost double that.
Nice.
Very, very happy with the acquisition. He is now not that anyone can quite see my glass cabinet up here.
Look for the yellow bit. Where's the orange bit?
Just look for the shining light that's coming out of the cabinet. But yes. So yeah, very, very happy with that acquisition. I don't know if I've really got. I don't know if I really have a standout of 2021 to talk about. You know what? Do you know what? I'm going to actually say that one of my favorite figures of 2021 was actually the toy-colored Galvatron, the Generation Selects version, just because of the memories that brought back of grey Galvatron and all of the scenes in which Galvatron absolutely was an utterly insane dead shit in the Marvel comics.
Oh yeah.
Absolute grade A supreme dickhead. But yes, loved the toy colored Galvatron, which is of course the comic colored Galvatron as well. So yeah, I do actually have him in the Behold Galvatron pack, the translucent reformatting purple, but I haven't opened that yet. So I might open him up and get some photos of him in the light box as well. We'll see how that goes. I feel like that's about it. We've run way over time, but it's the first podcast for a couple of months, so we'll let it go. But I think we're about done. Does anyone have anything that we need to add onto things for the podcast?
I'll just quickly mention, after doing a quick bit of Googling, yes, Jive looks a lot better than Downbeat, and I'll be communicating with some crack dealers in the next week to secure a pre-order.
It's a good idea. It's a good idea, especially if it's a Fans Toys bot that you've decided that you want. You are going to have to pre-order it. So yeah.
Yeah. That's all right.
Yeah.
Get on
I have the Fans Toys Huffer coming in soon as well. He might be here next week. We'll see how it goes.
Did you end up
Rig?
Did you end up going through with your T-Rex breakout Transformer crossover extravaganza, or do you have your Amazon?
I do have the Jurassic Park crossover, but it came from an import rather than from Amazon.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So yeah, it's sitting out there. I haven't opened it yet. I haven't opened it yet. I did open it for someone else so that I could post one to them, and it's a massive box. It's a huge box. It would cost a bomb to send. So if you take the figures out, it becomes far more affordable to send to someone. And let's face it, the figures are probably the only thing that people care about. It's a cool backdrop though, but yeah. Anyway, I think we're about at the end of the show. I think we're done. Gonna head into the outro. So thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for watching along with the live record. We've seen some numbers ticking up during the live record on our Facebook group and on YouTube. And it's lovely to see some comments come in live as well. We didn't get to them all, but thank you. We do appreciate the interaction as we record. You can find out more about these stories and more. You'll find links to them in the show notes, and you'll also find the photograph of that. You'll also find the photograph of that Bumblebee on Daria's phone's lock screen sometime in the next month or so. If you want to get in touch with us, please do. We love listener feedback. You can find our official site on Podbean. That is transformersweekly.podbean.com. Our Facebook page is called Australian Transformers Weekly, and we're all in Transformers Collectors Club Australia on Facebook. If you're not already subscribed, you can find the podcast on your podcatcher of choice, or you'll find the RSS feed link on the website. The podcast is a production of Transformers Collectors Club Australia, a registered club in Victoria run by volunteers donating their time, effort, energy, Friday nights, and money to make things better for everyone in Australia. Our goal is to build the Australian Transformers collecting community by engaging fans around the country. We create content like this podcast, we attend live in-person events like Oz Comic Con, and we run Facebook's largest dedicated Australian Transformers discussion and sales communities. You can find out more about the benefits of the club membership and how to show your support for what we do at transformerscca.com. And that was the first time that I read that spiel in that way, so should have practiced it. You can also find TCCA on Twitter at TransformersCCA. You can find me on Twitter at JM77. Daria is Vindaloo Vixen. Brad is on Twitter as well at Brad Mole. And Max, I cannot remember your Twitter handle.
It was Meme Cryptum.
Meme Cryptum, yes. So you can find all of us on Twitter. Go on.
Sorry?
Go on.
I wasn't saying sorry.
Oh, you said it's at something, but yeah.
I didn't say anything. No,
Oh,
sorry.
okay. No.
That's gotten very awkward.
Yeah, it did. It was right up to the end.
Sorry.
And of course, don't forget to check out Brad's Budget Adventure Show on YouTube. The link to that is in the show notes, unless he removes it before he posts it. That is it from us. We will be back with more Transformers news soon. I'm gonna roll the dice, and I'm gonna say next week, because I would like us to be doing podcasts more regularly. And you know what? Even if it's only Brad and myself, we'll be here next week. We'll be here next Friday night. Talking at you. Yeah, it depends what. Look, there's a lot of things that happen. Okay, but we'll see what happens. All right. Thank you everyone for watching. Hope you enjoyed the show. It's nice to be back for 2022, and we will see you all in the fullness of time.
We're back, baby. Yeah.